Good morning, everyone. It's me back to do the bonus reading. So let's see what Spirit's got to share with us today. I'm going to use the Pagan Tarot for this. You know, I'm having a secret love affair with the Pagan Tarot, right? So I want to use it all the time. I'm totally addicted to it. I think, no, I need to vary the packs. Every time I have the same pack and I get the same reading, I doubt the reading, and then I change, and if this shows up the same thing, then I just know it's a strong message coming through. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. I am loving the journey. Can't even tell you how much I love this journey. So I get up every morning with my enthusiasm, despite the fact my voice is a bit croaky sometimes. Other times it's very deep, depending on how I've gone. I actually had probably the best sleep last night I've had in a long time, but I would have been in bed asleep by 8:30 last night. So I wanted to go at 7, and then I woke at 2:30, but I went back to sleep, which was awesome. Okay, let's see what the bonus read brings around today. We have a broken heart. We have memories of sadness. We have the Three of Swords. Some of you could have gone through some sort of heartbreak, and the Ace of Cups is behind it with the Seven of Swords. Yeah, there's been some sort of deceit and heartbreak here. Now, the Seven of Swords is definitely about deceit. The Three of Swords can be about third parties. So for some of you, you've been through this energy in the past. It may just be about broken past energy that you're still holding on to. You can see the girl's really hanging on to this here. And it's time to sort of let it go to bring in new love, because the card behind it's about brand new love. So the universe is saying you need to let go of this energy so you can bring in new energy. Because love is waiting round the corner for you. Just have to learn to let go of your pain. Otherwise, if you go forward in that energy, you'll just bring yourself some more energy that looks the same. Okay, so we have the Five of Swords here. Now, the Five of Swords is the card of victory at the expense of others. Can be a card of selfishness, you know, destroying others for your own gain. I always see it as winning the war and not winning the battle and not the war. Sort of just having a win but not really winning, if that makes sense. But that's the way I always see it. It's sort of like an empty victory. So this is what you have as your first card out. And then we have the Hierophant. So the Hierophant talks of structures, tradition, doing things in a very organised and thoughtful manner. It's quite interesting because this card feels like it should be in the reverse energy, but I'll see how we go while we're reading. But definitely sort of feeling this idea of, you know, having traditional things, thinking things should go a certain way, thinking things should work a certain way, having an idea of how things should work and following that idea. But I feel like it's, yeah. Okay, Five of Pentacles coming out here. So there's definitely some people here who've been through some sadness or some times where they're maybe doing a bit of soul searching, trying to understand the way the world is. And I really feel that this is about looking at the world in a different way. Because sometimes we look at the world through the eyes we were taught with and not the eyes that see the real thing. So it's very much about, you know, maybe you've always believed in a fairy tale relationship where, you know, Prince Charming will come in, sweep you off your feet, you live happily ever after, never argue, and everything will be, you know, roses and lollipops. And you know, as you get older, that's not the case. You know, a relationship doesn't work that way. A relationship is something that two people need to be both dedicated and working on. You know, you need to move forward both committed to the same things. If you've got one partner who wants to, you know, see other people or play the field, then they're not on the same page as you if you want a traditional relationship. So very much this Hierophant here tells me that we're looking at people who are now understanding through their heartbreak that the world just doesn't always work the way we thought it would. Sometimes it's different, and how we now have to evolve to understand that, you know, love isn't all about, you know, knights on white horses. So the Nine of Cups is coming through here, which is really nice because the Nine of Cups talks about moving towards your wishes and wishes coming true. Okay, and then we have the Ten of Swords. Now, the Ten of Swords came up in the What's Cracking reading. So this idea of ending out a cycle here is a strong energy for it to come up in both readings. And it feels like that to me at the moment. I actually am getting quite excited because I know we're moving towards something. And, you know, a lot of people say to me, oh, it's taking a long time, and you all say that and blah, blah. And I think, yeah, because you're trying to look at it through human eyes, through this traditional concept of time. But you see, the universe has a plan, and it doesn't work in this traditional timing. And it also means you need to put in the work. And the one thing that I have learned greatly in my journey is about having faith and trust. Sometimes you can't see something. It doesn't mean it isn't on its way for you, but it might mean you have to sit back and take some deep breaths and be a little patient about it, because that energy of rushing and trying to bring things in pushes you in different directions, and sometimes you don't follow where you're supposed to go, because if you're thinking of things traditionally, you're not using your intuition. So the Ten of Swords tells me that people are closing out cycles here and are moving on in a very different way. Yep, and a lot of you are moving on from this very stuck past energy of looking backwards, not looking forwards to what sits in front of you. And we see a man in this standing here with his 2 cups ready to offer love, and she's ignoring him and looking at the stuff on the ground. Now, for some of you, this is about, and I always think of this with this card, is maybe somebody very, very close to you or around you is ready to offer you love, but you're not seeing it because you don't see them as a love interest. So this can be about a friend or you know, a neighbour or somebody you know who actually may be very much in love with you, but you're not seeing it because you're sitting there looking at what you've lost. I don't know why I thought of that, but obviously somebody needs to hear that. Okay, and then we have the King of Swords here. And it's really interesting that the King of Swords would come out here. It can be an air sign, so it can be a Libra, Aquarius or Gemini. But I really feel this is about you sort of understanding how to use your voice, understanding how to speak up for yourself, and having this energy sort of moving forward with this really clear, this clear direction here. Really sort of going with your sword in front of you. Okay, and then we have the King of Pentacles. Now the King of Pentacles is representative of the earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo. Now you could be dealing with an earth sign. This has the energy of a person, this one. So you could be dealing with an earth sign. But this person's very down to earth, very grounded. He loves his earthly, look at his earthly foods on the ground here, his wine and grapes. Also represents something to do with autumn here. So if you're waiting on a time, sometimes that's a pretty good indication, if I pick up on it, of the timing of this. Okay, and then we have the Fool, which also came out in the What's Cracking reading. So the Fool talks about having a brand new beginning. I love this one. He has a cat instead of, or she has a cat instead of a dog in the traditional cards. This always makes me think of your intuition. So this is like moving forward here and leaving these traditional ideas behind and going with your gut instinct. Thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to get forward in the Hierophant here. But this is exactly what I'm saying is, you know, not looking at the world in this traditional way anymore, being able to see through the eyes of a soul, like seeing through your true self. You're bringing in some sort of wish here, and your wish is coming. Now, I don't see anything about what it's bringing in here, but I do see it breaking down these old structures. I'm surprised I don't have the Tower here, really. There's a preempt on a card. Because there's a feeling of being, you know, somewhat spiritually low, looking back at the past rather than seeing what's close to you, you know, letting down, breaking down formal structures and being able to understand things work very differently for you. Now, I can get that because of some of the things you guys write up on the channel, you know, really sort of getting it. And when I do readings for people, they often say to me, you know, I really get it now. I've really sort of stopped and been able to really look at myself and understand that not everything is the way that we were taught it should be. So there's been a form of control, I guess, in our world as we've grown around, seeing the two genders as unequal would be a good one. That it's not right for someone to have sexual preferences different to what we think is the norm, where, a lot of people think you have to do everything a certain way. We have learned through having other cultures around us and having people from different places that their way of doing things was very different to the way we do things. And this is what, in a lot of circumstances, causes people to be racist because of their lack of understanding of how somebody else has been raised. So, for example, a very good example for me is about manners, because people will always say people are impolite and they don't have manners. And in some cultures, people aren't taught that. They're not taught that. So you have to get your thinking around what you've been taught and your conditioning. Now, when I was doing, I think, my TAFE course, a teacher came in one day and she'd left cups all on the table, and she asked us to spit in the cups, which we all did. It was a little uncomfortable, but we went with that. And then she said to us, now, drink your spit. And everybody went, ew, you can't drink spit, it's disgusting. And she stood there and she said, why? It's yours. What's the problem? But because of your social, not that any of us really did it, but the idea of doing it was quite repulsive. But when you really start to dig deep in that, why is it repulsive? It's our bodily fluid. It doesn't make sense at all. I mean, if you have a cut on your finger, how many times do you put that in your mouth because you're trying to stop it from bleeding? It's really the way we're conditioned to think that something isn't right. And of course, spitting isn't a nice thing, so therefore we do that. In other cultures, spitting is quite acceptable. I can't remember which culture. Is it the Greek culture where people spit on the bride? Or spit on people for good luck. Passing wind's another good one. We all think passing wind's a really bad thing, but some cultures accept that is part of the body's way of working. So trying to understand the breakdown, I've gone off on a tangent, trying to understand how we have been taught things should be a certain way, and yet they're not that way. So the card we have at the end here is the King of Wands. So we have a lot of different thinking here. And what the reading is trying to say is that we have to be more passionate about where we're going. We have to be more dedicated, more grounded. We have to let go of some of the things we've been taught in the past and the pain that brings with it. And we have to move forward. And that's what's happening here with this Ten of Swords. We are learning this journey and doing very well, because this is energies from all over the world. So people are starting to understand how this works here. So very nice, letting go of the old and welcoming in the new, but doing it from our intuition, not from our thinking. Okay, so 2 cards came out, and one of the cards is perfect timing, and the other card is the situation will improve. So I think what they're saying here is you've obviously been through a hard time. There's been conflict here. You've got a bit of a broken heart, but through this healing process, you learn to look at the world in a very different way. You're learning that the world doesn't always, give us what we want. The world will teach us how we need to get what we want, or how we achieve what is right for us. So there you go. Great reading. I love those readings that really challenge my thinking too. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.